And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot live here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel. As always, I am your host / moderator, Bryson Carver, episode 19 in the building. Very, very excited for a special edition, not just the fact that it's the day after Christmas, but the fact we've got all three hosts of the Cowboys CanFan Podcast in the building, starting with a previous champion on the show and multi-time contestant, Adam of the Cowboys CanFan. Adam, how you feeling, my man? Welcome back to the show.
Well, I'm feeling great right now, and I'm happy to be the first one to do this, but crack 'em if you got 'em. All CanFan episode. I can't wait to go against my two co-hosts, and it's probably the one time I get to talk uninterrupted, so I can't wait.
There you go. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. 2 minutes unfiltered. You get what you got to give. Shout out to Adam. And he does get a 50. By the way, we talked about before the show. We're going to put a cap on him, but 3 crack 'em if you got him. You get 50 points each for that. Moving on to a first-time contestant on the 8 o'clock spot, the leader of the CanFan show. Would you please welcome Anth? Anth, what's going on, my man? How you doing?
Hey, Merry Christmas, Bryson. Glad to be on the show, and I'm glad I'm going to get my first victory against these two bums. Back to Adam saying that we interrupt him. You're lucky today that I have no chance of interrupting you, but before we get into anything, I'm going to get my first 50 points, baby. Crack him if you got him, son. Let's go.
Got him.
Perfect. Just rolls off the tongue right there. We were talking about before, and it feels like it's literally just the Cowboys CanFan, but I'm hosting, and there's points involved. It's the same show, but just for a half hour. Very, very excited. And finally, AJ, multi-time contestant on the 8 o'clock spot, looking for his first victory on the show. AJ, my man, how you doing? And welcome back to the show.
And
he's muted himself.
Okay, let's continue. The 50 points is gone. He doesn't get the 50. The 50 is gone, AJ, unless you've cracked it. Or if you cracked it. Is he there?
I can. Here, I have a crack 'em for you.
Oh, we bring a second.
Crack 'em.
There it is. We always got them in the chamber.
Merry Christmas is what is the most important part of that message that you missed.
Yes, absolutely. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. This is gonna be such a fun show. I cannot wait. All right, before we get into any of the 8 o'clock spot shenanigans and what we're going to do on the show today, let's take a quick look here, if we can put it up here. Let's take a quick look at the leaderboard. We were not here on the show last week, but we are here today. The leaderboard is loading. Here we go. Okay, so the leader right now, Mike Guido, ahead of Barry Grant Jr. in the standings, the two co-founders of the Gryd right there at the top, followed by Alfred Parsar Jr., John Rivera, Devin Nettles, Dalton Brown, who won 2 weeks ago. There you are, Adam Bessie, Ryan Flowers, Dylan Lima. There's AJ right there, and Eric Van Letten at the bottom. Anth is going to, of course, join the leaderboard today. And before we get into our first topic, let's look at our first round rules. It's pretty simple, ladies and gentlemen. I am the judge of all this, but I will be fair, of course. Great take gives you 200 points, and a good take gives you 100. An okay take gives you 50, and a bad take, you come home empty-handed, you get 0 points. It's not a good day if you come home with the 0. I don't think we've gotten out of 0 quite yet, and I don't anticipate that will be the case today. So let's look at our first topic. It's fitting. We got the Cowboys CanFan co-hosts, so let's go and get into the Dallas Cowboys, who fell at the very end on a walk-off field goal to the Miami Dolphins, 22-20, despite a game from Dak Prescott in which he had a couple touchdowns and a passer rating over 100. Tua Tagovailoa, nearly 300 yards passing, again leading the game-winning drive at the end. Tyreek Hill, nearly 100 yards receiving. The game lived up to the billing. It was about as entertaining as we all kind of figured that it would be. I will start with Adam right now. What is the biggest reason, again, you all obviously Cowboys fans, what's the biggest reason the Cowboys have had this little 2-game skid?
I mean, I think it's fitting for us to say the Cowboys are the biggest reason for the two-game slip, but ultimately I do think it comes down to the coaching. I think when we look at how the Cowboys responded to the Bills, specifically the defense, the Cowboys defense, we just weren't making the proper adjustments. We couldn't stop the run game, and we got set in our own ways. So you got to chalk that up to a lot of the coaching. Either it's Dan Quinn on the defensive play calling, or even Mike McCarthy as the head coach, not saying we got to make some adjustments here. And I do feel like it still comes over to the Miami game, where there's a lot of questionable play calls in terms of what we were doing, and not getting, not stopping the motion that Miami is famous for, or is at least famous for with this current team under Mike McDaniel. So yeah, I'm gonna put it up to the coaching, and that goes all the way to even hyping the team up. We look at how lukewarm Mike McCarthy is, pre-game, post-game, mid-game, and it's just through and through, all the way from top to bottom. The coaching right now, I feel is what's making the team struggle the most on some of these road games against some of these tougher teams.
Sure, and that's obviously a big component because, when you go on the road, you're not going to have the momentum of the home crowd. It's even in Dallas, they'll have occasional road games like against the Chargers, which y'all were at, where they had the home field advantage. But that's a great point with Mike McCarthy. And I feel like the play calling was, especially in the second, third quarter, kind of odd because they force-fed the ball, rightfully so, by the way, to CeeDee Lamb the first quarter, went to him a lot in that last drive, which helped them get that touchdown to take the lead, but almost ignored him for quarters 2 and 3, despite the fact that he's far and away the best receiver on the team. So I'm going to give you a great take, Adam, with the 50 points, the Kraken 50 points. There you go. Adam Bessie, a great take to start the 8 o'clock spot. Congratulations. He's starting off with a bang. To now, Anth, your reaction to the Cowboys, and really more specifically, what's the biggest reason for their 2-game skid to Buffalo and to Miami?
So I don't know about the great take. I think coaching is a very broad subject. And by saying the coaching, like he brought up the rushing attack against Buffalo, yeah, it was terrible. But then they go against Miami and hold them for under 100. So I actually think Dan Quinn made some pretty good adjustments. They kept a high-flying offense to under 30 points. The Cowboys should win that game. But my biggest takeaway is the Cowboys haven't had any takeaways in the last 2 games. The Cowboys have had 21 takeaways in all their prior 13 games, and then their 2 losses against Buffalo and Miami, a big fat goose egg. It breaks down to the most simplest thing in sports. Who takes the ball away? You could almost look at any game, and the biggest stat is almost the takeaway leaders. And we've lost that matchup in both last games. So yeah, coaching has been a problem, but if you don't take the ball away in January and hopefully in February, you're going to be going home. So my biggest takeaway is the Cowboys need to get more takeaways. If you want to beat Detroit at AT&T Stadium, you got to get back to taking the ball away. We had 21 prior, 0 in the last 2. Take that damn ball.
Absolutely. And obviously you got ball hawks like Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore, guys like that, guys who are fully capable, and even the defensive line, guys like Micah Parsons to potentially get some strip sacks. And I mean, that's something too that obviously benefits the offense in a big way because you set them up in short fields, whereas felt like multiple times that game against Miami, they were set up at times inside their own 20. It's hard to really establish anything good consistently, whether it be your offensive line, your passing game, or your running game in totality. So I'm actually going to give a great take. Oh, hold on. I forgot to give the 50 points there, Anthony. I don't want to sell you short here, but there you go. 250. You're tied with Adam. 250 points. A great take there for Anthony. Let's move on to AJ. Your reaction to the Cowboys loss, and more specifically, the biggest reason for their 2-game losing streak.
Is my mic on? Is my mic working, guys?
Your mic is working, AJ.
I think for me, what stands out the most on these losses was missing like big moments. And 2 that come to mind, and there were more. Dak against the Bills, throwing that bomb to Cooks that could have been a momentum-changing touchdown. They didn't get points on the board, and then kind of continued their poor play after that moment. And against the Dolphins, there was that debacle on the goal line. TP20 stopped by a sea hare on the goal line, and then a fumble as well from Dak to Hunter Luepke. Big turnover there. So those are just 2 moments out of 2 full games of play. But it's the big moments that the Cowboys have been missing that have just not been allowing them to keep rolling, get some momentum going. Then they have to punt, or worse yet, they lose the ball.
That's a great point, and that's something that's really kind of the big kind of criticism coming into the season, throughout the season, that Dallas, for as talented as they are, for as many games they've won, now against good teams. That narrative's gone because now the Rams are streaky, now the Seahawks are playing well. They obviously beat Philadelphia. Is the fact that they're not in great situation. We know the end of the game against Philadelphia, in Philadelphia. Obviously, the game against the Dolphins, kind of struggling at times, especially defensively, to kind of get stops. The fumble on the goal line is probably the game-changing play if they're able to score there, whether it's Tony Pollard, as you mentioned, AJ, or whether it's Lipke, the missed handoff between him and Dak. We'll probably have a very different conversation about where they are in the standings and maybe potentially in the division race. But I'm going to give you as well, AJ. A great take as well. I'm not going to give you the crack. Actually, you know what? You did get the crack him. He came in late in the clutch. So you know what? Let's give him the 250. Okay. So again, crack if you got him, AJ, 250. So we got a 3-way tie going into the second round of the 8 o'clock spot. We're going to have some fun here tonight. Cannot wait. And obviously, everybody, if you want to chime in the comment section, feel more than free to do just that. Moving on to the second round, everything, and I mean everything, gets double. A great take gives you 400 points. A good take gives you 200 points. No okay take gives you 100. And a bad take, you still come home empty-handed with 0 points. The stakes rise each and every single round. Let's move on to what was probably the most hyped game of week 16 between the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers in a game that, listen, if you pick Baltimore, I don't even know if you saw this coming. The Ravens dominating the Niners 33-19 in San Francisco. Brock Purdy with a rough night, 4 interceptions. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson, almost 300 yards in total, rushing and throwing, and is arguably the front runner for MVP. So I'll ask you, Anth, to start this segment. Is Lamar Jackson the MVP today?
Well, let's first get my 50 points. Crack them if you got them, son. So we're going to start off with that. We're going to start off with that 50. And this is when we sent out the questions earlier, this is kind of one I mulled over a bit. Like, this is my answer is different than what the perception of the rest of the NFL might be. Is he being pushed towards being the MVP in the NFL? Probably. Is he to me? No. I think the MVP of the NFL is the guy that was on the other side of the field against him in CMC.
Okay.
When I watch Baltimore, especially against the 49ers, sure, Lamar played great. He had 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's winning football games, right? But to me, CMC, without CMC on San Francisco, they're gone. He's playing like an MVP all day. He's going to finish the season with probably 1,700 rushing yards, anywhere between 16 and 18 rushing touchdowns, and then another possibly 600 to 800 yards receiving. Those are godly numbers for a running back. And then you look over at Lamar Jackson's numbers, who are still good, and I know he's missed a couple games, but I think he has 19 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. That does not scream MVP to me. And just because your team's playing well, that shouldn't automatically force you into MVP discussion. The only reason he's at the top of the board right now in MVP discussion is because the other 2 guys ahead of him have played bad. Brock Purdy threw his way out of the MVP, and Dak Prescott hasn't had 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So there was 2 guys that were clearly ahead of him 2 weeks ago. And I still think there should be 1 guy clearly ahead of him, CMC. So to me, I'm not sold on him as an MVP. Do I think the NFL is going to push a quarterback to be MVP? Yeah, I do. I don't think Christian McCaffrey wins, but I believe he's a better player for his team than Lamar is for his team.
You know, I heard the great Barry Sanders saw him tweet today that they might actually, because of the fact that the NFL probably does want a quarterback to an MVP because of the value of the position, that you could have like a split MVP like he had with, like Barry Sanders had, I believe it was with Brett Favre all those years ago. So you could potentially see a situation like that. And you make a good case because, listen, you see, and we've seen the games, whether it's the games Christian McCaffrey's gotten injured in or this one where the Ravens built so big of a lead, the Niners have to abandon the run game. Just doesn't look like the same offense. And even still, they're getting the ball to him pretty consistently. So good take, Adam. I'm going to give you a good take. Obviously, the 50 points extra, getting it to 500 points to take the lead right now, but a good take right there by Anth to take the lead here on the 8 o'clock spot. Moving on to AJ, is Lamar Jackson the MVP of the NFL today?
Crack, Mitch, you got him. Okay. Honestly, is it just me, or has this been one of the hardest years to like pick out a clear-cut MVP? We've gone from Jalen Hurts to Brock Purdy to Dak Prescott, probably someone else in there too. Now we're on to Lamar Jackson. Every single week when someone performs well and the other quarterbacks don't perform well, someone's taking the next leap there. The only one that has been consistent in their position is CMC. So the question that comes down to me is, what do Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, and Patrick Mahomes, what can they do in these next 2 weeks to take over what Lamar Jackson is doing? If Lamar Jackson just continues to play like he is, nothing necessarily exceptionally special in his stats, but if he's going to win for his team and be the quarterback with the team that's dominant, yeah, the NFL is going to point his way. So, I mean, if anyone balls out and Jackson falls flat, then we could be having a different conversation. But like right now, heading into week 17 of this season, like I don't love it, but it is Jackson in terms of how the NFL is looking at this.
Yeah, potentially so. And obviously you bring up the aspect of a lot can happen in the next 2 weeks. And it has been, I completely agree with you. It's been the tightest MVP race I can remember. And it's not just the fact that it's tight. I think we've had the most MVP candidates going into Week 17 that I can remember to this point. Obviously, the most positional players, Tyreek Hill was brought up, and CMC, as you guys have both mentioned. And that's something that I've argued with Lamar is that, and I'm cool with him being the front runners, because Lamar's value, his stats are almost never going to just blow you out of the water, but his ability to make plays with his legs, and obviously without Mark Andrews, even still to go on the road to San Francisco and do what he did was pretty darn impressive. So AJ with the 50-point crack advantage, obviously the edge. I'm going to give you a good take as well. So you are tied right now with Anth there at the top. We'll see what Adam can do in response, but a good take there by AJ here on the 8 o'clock spot. To Adam now, finally, is Lamar Jackson the MVP to you today? There it is.
Crack him if you got him.
Crack him if you got him.
Effect of the show.
Okay, so your question is Lamar Jackson the MVP to me today? Well, after last night's performance, he had 105 rating for his performance against the San Francisco 49ers as he carved, as a Carving It Up podcast, as he carved up the
I like it.
San Francisco defense. He managed the game very, very well. So today, yeah, I would say Lamar is the front runner. I do subscribe to the thought that Baltimore's team, is an MVP team. They are a clear front runner to going all the way that they just dominated that juggernaut. Everybody thought that the San Francisco 49ers team was above everybody else. And to what Anth said in the first question, they had takeaways. They had 4 or 5 takeaways in the game last night. So, the defense did their job, and then you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson coming in and able to handle the game, doesn't throw any interceptions, has some rushing yards, throws 2 tutties and 250 yards. Yeah, he played like an MVP candidate. If you look at the rest of the season, he has the Dolphins on the 31st, and then they also have your Pittsburgh Steelers at the end of the season. So they have some pretty decent games coming up, opposed to San Francisco cakewalk games, Washington Commanders, and then you have the Rams. Now the Rams have been stepping it up a little bit this second half of the season. And I'm saying the Rams aren't the Rams that we've seen previous years, but I do think that the Dolphins are going to pose a bigger challenge to the Ravens. And if Lamar Jackson can continue on the pace that he did against the San Francisco 49ers, I think he's going to take the MVP title at the end of the year.
Yeah, he's got a great opportunity to do so, obviously. And again, something else is I just, sort of thought about this as you were saying that the Ravens being the best team in the league. We saw you guys, Anth and AJ mentioned about Christian McCaffrey that, we've seen the Niners offense without him. We saw last year this offense without Lamar Jackson. Now, I know it's a different system, new offensive coordinator, some of the new pieces like OBJ and Zay Flowers, but this offense for Baltimore went from scoring darn near 30 a game to barely breaking double digits. So, just the value to this team is something that's why I said, you can't always measure it in stats, although obviously I think y'all make great points across the board. Adam right now is in first place, ladies and gentlemen. Adam takes the lead going into the third and final round, at least the final round involving all 3 contestants of the Cowboys CanFan. So shout out Adam Bessie, first place here on the Cowboys CanFan special on the Gryd Network on the 8 o'clock spot. So
MVP front runner with 19 touchdowns. Give me a break.
I'm just saying you can't measure in just a stat. I'm just saying.
19 touchdowns. Imagine Dak Prescott had a team to have 4 interceptions, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. They'd be like, that's nothing. That's nothing special.
You talking about if he did what Purdy did?
Yeah, well, no, even just like Lamar Jackson against the Niners, he had 2 touchdowns with 250 yards. If that's what Dak did against Miami, I don't know. It's just a double standard.
Well, yeah. But all of us here have been fighting that for years. We're on the same page there. We're on the same page. There's no question about it. All right, let's move on to our third round. Again, the final round involving all 3 contestants. Although, heck, the final round, I'd like to have everybody the way this is going.
Let's do it. Hey, we're all family here.
We're all exactly. It's holidays, it's Christmas, it's gift giving. We'll see what happens. But the third and final round, great take gives you 800 points. A good take gives you 400. An okay take gives you 200 points. And a bad take, again, you come home empty-handed. So the 2 teams that played in the Super Bowl both put out less than great performances. That's putting it mildly. The Kansas City Chiefs with a brutal loss, 20-14 to the Las Vegas Raiders at home at Arrowhead Stadium. Patrick Mahomes, the offense, really struggling. Getting up. By the way, not giving up. You guys talk about takeaways being the theme of the show. Back-to-back defensive touchdowns for the Raiders to help them win this game. By the way, they did not complete a pass after the first quarter and were still able to go to Kansas City and get the W. Meanwhile, for the beloved, I know everybody here loves the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles at home against the New York Giants, barely struggling to beat Tommy DeVito / Tyrod Taylor at the end, in large part due to their defensive struggles, and a pick six by Jalen Hurts certainly didn't help the Eagles' cause. So neither team's playing very well right now, and obviously both with Super Bowl expectations and aspirations. I'll start with you, AJ. Who's more likely to get to the Super Bowl? Is it the Eagles or is it the Chiefs?
Crack with you, got him. let me just stamp that card. Honestly, this is really hard for me to come to a decision on. I've been thinking about it, and I went through the offense and defense comparisons, just trying to pick the best players on the team. Best player on offense outside of any quarterbacks is Kelsey for Kansas City. KC also was missing Pacheco, if I can say his name right, the running back, for 2 games, and then he ended up getting concussion, was out for the game. That doesn't solve their offensive woes, though. If I look to Philadelphia, I feel like their offense is more electric, even though it hasn't been really functioning very well. But their defense is really questionable. So, I mean, shoot, I could flip a coin here. But I'm going to go against the grain, and I'm going to say I think Eagles have been looking better in their losses.
Wow.
And look like they could still bounce back, whereas I'm not seeing a lot. I thought there might be from KC with the rise of Rashee Rice, but I'm just not seeing a lot from their offense to be like excited. I know they have the better defense, but when it comes down to like who's going to do better or who's going to make it to the Super Bowl, let's say it was the better chance, I just feel like Philly has the better chance, maybe because they're in our division and I watch them a little more.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point you made. Now, obviously, I mean, again, I'm leaning more Kansas City just because I like their defense way more than Philly's. But like, it's an offensive league, and obviously we know Mahomes is the better quarterback between him and Jalen. But at the same time, when you compare weapons, it's not even close. Kelsey would be the best offensive weapon on the Eagles, but AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, Swift, you saw what he did yesterday. By the way, Philly's offensive line today is miles better than Kansas City's. They struggled badly yesterday against that Vegas pass rush. So I think you made some good points. And AJ, I'm gonna give you a great take here, my man. Great take with the 50-point bonus of the Crack'em. So AJ in first place on the Cowboys CanFan edition of the 8 o'clock spot. So shout out to you, my man. You're about as close as you've ever been to getting your first W. So
AJ's on fire.
Right, he is on fire right now. Moving on to Adam right now. Who's more likely to get to the Super Bowl? Is it the Eagles or is it the Chiefs?
Well, I mean, considering the performance last night, I still think the San Francisco 49ers are a very tough team. I think Philly, the way that they've been playing, even against the New York Giants, I think they've been struggling. Something's going on with their offense. I mean, they have an offensive line, they have a defensive line, they have all these players, but yet they can't get the mojo mixing. So I do think that Philly is in a tough spot as a complete team. And they have to go through our Dallas Cowboys and or the San Francisco 49ers on the NFC. So that's where I lean a little bit more towards Patty Mahomes. I mean, he's been to how many Super Bowls and postseason wins? Regardless, with all the issues that they're having now with their team, once the regular season's done, you're in the playoff. It's a whole different atmosphere. It's a whole level of it's a whole different level of playing. So my take is that I'm going to go with KC has a better shot at making it through to the Super Bowl because the Eagles ain't making it through San Francisco, and they sure as heck ain't making it through them Cowboys. Crack them if you got them.
I was going to say, I was thinking you forgot about your crack them there, but you did at the end there. I like it. I like the creativity there. But yeah, and listen, I would take. I was talking today on my show and carving it up that if Philadelphia were to fall the 5 seed, I'd take them to lose to Tampa. If they're the 2 seed, I think they'd lose to Seattle. If they're the 3 seed, I definitely would take the Rams, given how they're playing as of late. I just don't like what I'm seeing defensively from the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think you made some really good points. I'm going to give Adam a good take. It was a solid take for this segment. I tend to agree with you, but I think it was a pretty good take for this segment. Anth, finally, and by the way, you know what? It's the holidays. It's the day after Christmas. Everybody advances to the final round, okay? So everybody's advancing to the final round on the Cowboys CanFan edition of the 8 o'clock spot. We got to do it, man. It's Christmas. I'm not going to stick in the mud right now. But to Anth, to finish before we get into our final round topic, who's more likely to make the Super Bowl? Is it the Chiefs or the beloved Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I'm not going to be creative like my brother over there. I'm just going to get it right out of there. Crack him if you got him. Give me that 50 points. So I'm going to kind of piggyback off of both their takes. It's kind of hard not to when you're going second over two teams. Like they each took KC, one took the Eagles. So I'm going to kind of go in between there. As far as Kansas City right now, they're matched up to play the Browns in the wild card. And I'm telling you right now, you do not want to play the Browns right now. If you're talking about storybook endings, the Browns have it. They have Joe Flacco right now, and they have that defense. So they're a scary team to play. If KC has to play the Browns, they're getting knocked out round one. And then if you even look at the other teams that KC might play, I don't like their odds there. I don't like Patrick Mahomes' attitude right now. I don't like seeing Kelsey throw a helmet and act like a little baby. So they seem like they're in a big kind of array, and they've never been in this situation. They've always kind of just floated through, got into the postseason, and then turned it on, right? They have a lot of adversity. If you go over to the Eagles, I know you said you don't like their defense really, but they have a top defensive line in the NFL. Yeah. And what do you need in playoffs in January? You need that defensive line. And then you look at their offensive players. What else do you need? You need a running game, you need a decent quarterback, and you need receivers. So that offensive team, as long as their defense can do what it needs to do, those guys could, if they figure it out, the Eagles are able to put up 30 to 40 points a game in January. And I don't think KC's at that point with their offense. Kelsey's good, but they're just not elevated this year. Their offensive line is terrible. They have a couple playmakers on defense, but not enough to get them over the hump. I got to go with Philadelphia, as much as I hate to say it. I don't like Philly either. I think Philly could lose in the wild card, but they have a better chance at the Super Bowl in my mind right now than the Crybabies.
Dang, shots at the Chiefs, shots at the home. I mean, listen. It's.
I'm here.
Man, listen, man, nobody loved that game more than Max Crosby. I'll tell you that right now. He was enjoying every second of that. But, I mean, listen, you make great points. And obviously, again, as we talked about earlier, it's kind of more of an offensive league these days. And, when Kansas City's struggling the way that they are. And again, both locker rooms seem to be dealing with a little bit of turmoil. I heard Devontae Smith yesterday say, like, we've won 11 games. And I still don't like how we're playing. Like, there's a real kind of disconnect there. And with Kansas City, yeah, there's a frustration that has not been there in quite some time. But this is why, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody watching and listening, this is why these guys are the best of the business, okay? Because they gave the Eagles their props in the areas that they need to give their props in. Anth, by the way, great take. You're tied at the top with AJ moving into the final round. Adam, you're lucky that it's Christmas, otherwise you'd be eliminated. But we are going the final round, all three on the Cowboys CanFan show.
Hey, it's a Christmas miracle that I'm in the finals,
it kind of, sometimes the cookie crumbles that way, but I'm like, I'm in a giving spirit today, and y'all the best. So
we're not counting Alex's first crack 'em just so I have more points in him. Just kidding.
No, we're giving it to him. He still got it all.
He did. True.
He got off where the buzzer sounded. But, okay, so this is going to be, obviously 8 o'clock spot. We are primarily a sports show, but we like to have some fun. We did a segment when Halloween came around. We did a segment, that was when my man Alfred Parso Jr., shout out Alfred, said that candy corn was the best candy out there. That was an automatic disqualifier.
Wow.
Right,
yeah, that's a wild take.
I love Alfred, but that was wild. But and then obviously we did one for Thanksgiving. We're doing one for Christmas today. Okay, so for our Christmas segment, do we even have the graphic on here? Hang on, let me get the graphic on because I don't want to cheat the audience live here on the 8 o'clock spot. There it is. Okay, so for Christmas, we've got some great traditions and the food and obviously the presents. But some of the best is Christmas movies. Okay, we love It's a Wonderful Life and Elf and A Christmas Story. I was telling the guys beforehand, I just watched Home Alone 1 and 2 in the last 48 hours, and I feel better for it. So there's some great Christmas movies out there, so plenty to choose from. But I'll start with you, Adam. What is the best Christmas movie?
I mean, the movies and the best Christmas movies, it's such a subjective thing. So I think in terms this is the hardest question of today because I have different movies that I watch in different scenarios. I have a favorite Christmas movie when I watch with my family. I have a favorite Christmas movie when I watch with my kids. I have a favorite Christmas movie when I watch something with my wife. And we're a Christmas movie family. So I watch all of the Christmas movies during Christmas time right now. And this is like the dark horse for me right now. The one movie I tend to go to all the time. If I was just to watch a movie on my own, it would be The Night Before with Seth Rogen, Anthony Mackie, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because I feel like it has the exact type of Christmas spirit I want. It's about three friends who are having one night out for Christmas that they have this Christmas tradition, and it plays on all the Christmas tropes that I've grew up loving and knowing. It's vulgar, it's funny, and it's one of the movies that in the last 3 years continues to rank up my list. And I use a lot of the movie's sound bites on my sound effects boards for our show. In tight second place, it's National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I'll watch that with the family. But for me, my own Christmas spirit, my own Christmas movie, since I'm the comeback kid, it's The Night Before, because it hits all the marks that I want in a Christmas movie for myself.
I like it. A little bit of a newer choice too. That was very out of the box and very. I like that, Adam. That's very nice. First of all, real quick, I should have mentioned this, and I apologize. I did not do my duty on this show. I needed to mention that the final round, it's win or go home. Okay, the winner gets 10,000 points, and the loser, in this case, there'll be two of them, will come home empty-handed. So it's stakes are very, very high, and this is the great equalizer of the 8 o'clock spot. We do have, real quick before I get to you, Anth, a couple of comments from an old friend. Barry Grant Jr. says, "What kind of sham is this? Getting everybody in the building today." And he says, all three, Bryson will have to talk to management. It's Christmas, Barry. Quit being such a Scrooge or a Grinch or whatever.
And we've been pretty well behaved, I think.
Yeah, you've been.
Probably the most well behaved we've ever been on a show.
It's gay. It's, you know what? It's Christmas. That's it all factors in. It all comes around together. Anth, best Christmas movie. What is it?
Well, it's funny because as we were going in I'm going to call it the green room. As we were in the green room, you told me that you watched Home Alone for your first time ever yesterday.
Yep.
And to me, that's just like mind-boggling to me, because that to me is like, if I hear the Home Alone soundtrack, or I see that little punk Macaulay Culkin anywhere, I automatically think of Christmas. Like, I don't even need the movie. I just need hints of the movie. Not to mention, when it came out, I was around the age of Kevin McAllister, and they took a frightening subject of a kid being left home alone by himself for the holidays. Like, that's every kid's worst nightmare. And they had a really good play on it, making it his wish to be home alone. And then he ends up, you have the wet bandits coming in to try to steal from him. It's a great Christmas movie, not only because Kevin McAllister wins, but for me, it's nostalgic, and it's not Christmas until I've watched Home Alone. And I'm glad you finally have now watched Home Alone. I was going to change it when you said you'd only watched it yesterday. I was going to go to Christmas Vacation, but I had to stick to my guns, and I stuck to Home Alone because it is my number one favorite Christmas movie.
It was good, man. Like, there's certain movies that kind of lose you after a while, but Home Alone had me hooked from start to finish. It's great. It is going to be a holiday tradition at the Carver family household for years to come. Christmas Vacation is awesome, though.
Like Ad said, that's my very close second.
It's good stuff.
And they bit a lot of Home Alone sound bites and homages in The Night Before to Home Alone, because those guys grew up watching that same Christmas movie.
Hey, you had your turn.
Hey, this is between Alex's. These are fun. This is a fun fact section. I'm not even supposed to be here.
He's playing with house money now. He's playing with house money for sure. AJ, finally with you. What's the best Christmas movie?
Okay, well, first of all, just for the sake of keeping things consecutive, crack them if you got them. And this is going to be an early night for me, I can already tell. Just kidding. Okay. So first of all, let me just put a little quick asterisk in. My favorite thing to watch at Christmas is the only Christmas special by It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, season 6, episodes 13 and 14. Just very funny, but that doesn't count. My favorite Christmas movie, it is Bad Santa. And the reason I love Bad Santa so much is because it came out when I was in kind of my writing heyday. I love Wes Anderson movies, and I loved Quentin Tarantino movies. And I always tried to find like a way to mesh Tarantino's violence and his ability to create suspense with like Wes Anderson's kind of character-driven dialogue. And so is Quentin Tarantino. But Wes Anderson's characters were I just loved the way that he set up his characters. So I'm not saying I ever accomplished that. But coming to Bad Santa, I felt like Bad Santa kind of accomplished both of those for me, and not necessarily in the violent ways, but it just, but there was like violence within his character, right? He's this drunk, fake Santa who's just a bad dude, and he ends up working with that elf to help him do some bad stuff on Christmas. I like the kind of Grinch Scrooge-esque aspect of Bad Santa. So it's probably not on anyone's list to watch as a Christmas movie, but in terms of like for myself, It's that. And yes, honorable mention, if I can, would be Charlie Brown's Christmas and the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that 1964 weird-ass claymation version.
That's good. Those are two classes for sure. I like it. It's, again, outside the box. This is why we asked the question. I want to get everybody's input across the board. So all three of you made great cases.
Hey, what's your favorite Christmas movie, Bryson?
Oh yeah,
the host has to answer.
Yeah, we need it. Good call. We need to hear it.
Yeah, no, Chris is. I'm kind of like Anth. Christmas Vacation is my very close second. Like, it's just classic. Never gets old every year. And it's a movie you can quote all year round. But I'm a very sentimental guy, man. It's a Wonderful Life it doesn't get better. The message of the movie, it feels like Christmas. I'm very and I love comedy for Christmas. Home Alone's great, and obviously Christmas Vacation. But It's a Wonderful Life just feels like Christmas. The message is great. That's my personal preference, personally.
Interesting. Okay.
Meanwhile, AJ has his scumball Santa that's robbing malls.
It's the juxtaposition for sure.
We watch movies for entertainment, not to like. Well, I hope you don't watch movies to like be like, oh, that's who I want to be. Like, I know he's a dirtbag, but that's why I love watching.
That's why it's entertaining.
That's great. Entertaining.
It's okay. Listen, seriously though, y'all make great cases, but there can only be one winner. And for the first, and hopefully not only, edition of the Cowboys CanFan show on the Gryd Network's 8 o'clock spot, the winner this week, as we dial up the victory music, the champion music, Anth is the winner on his first appearance on the 8 o'clock spot here on the Gryd Network. If we have the celebration music, we got it. There it is. There we go.
I feel like we're at the end of a Mario Kart race.
It kind of sounds like that, doesn't it? It's great. It's great. Anth, your reaction, sir. How you doing?
I feel great. I feel great to beat my co-host there, but all in all, it was a fun episode, and they made great points. These guys talk so much football, and they had some amazing points. And I'm going to say that it could have won anyway. So I'm going to give this as a CanFan win, if anything.
That's it. It's a win for the CanFan. Maybe we can do like a in the leaderboard. We can have all the CanFan and just combine everything. Actually, I can't do that. Guido, Barry would be all over me.
Oh, Mike
Guido's in a heartbeat if I did that.
Yeah, Mike Guido right now is like, no, you cannot. I don't even agree with having all the CanFan guys on here. Someone's probably sandbagging it right now so that one of them wins.
We're actually all in the same house right now.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously?
Bryson,
No, we're not.
We're not.
Your producers are going to bring you into a room tomorrow morning and just give you the what for. But hey, this was fun. And Anth, welcome to the show. I'm still behind you and Adam, and I've been on 3 times.
You were close. You were that close, AJ. You were that close.
I thought AJ had it.
Look, I don't even mind this. I really enjoy this show. It's a lot of fun. And I would even be Bryson. I know I'm a football only guy. But next time I'm on, and we can discuss this behind the scenes, of course, I don't mind dipping into other sports either. So, yeah, I know.
My last show that I was on, we dipped into other sports, and I thought it was good. I mean, obviously, I'm not a baseball guy because I don't think.
You did good though.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Step out into the world, Alex.
This was really fun. No, this was a perfect question set for Cowboys CanFan. We appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun.
It was
a lot of fun. We're going to have to do it again. Once again, congratulations to Anth. Both Adam and AJ put up great cases throughout the night as well. That is it for this week's edition of the 8 o'clock spot. Be sure to catch us next week at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel. Episode 20 will be next week, so a little mini milestone. And of course, we will be having some fun with, again, the continual build up for the finals, which are going to be in June, as we continue to see these point totals go up and up and up. But Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to everybody out there. Shout out to Adam, Anth, and AJ of the Cowboys CanFan. Check them out everywhere you get your podcast, YouTube, and everywhere you get your podcast here on the Gryd Network and on their YouTube channel. We'll see y'all next week, man. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out.